What does the Indus Water Treaty actually mean? What is the Indus Water Treaty? What does holding it abeyance mean? Is this symbolic? Is this just a signal of intent? So the Indus Water Treaty was signed in 1960 on the 19th of September. It was signed by then Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and Ayub Khan on the Pakistani side. This was, of course, negotiated by the World Bank, and this was a very, very long negotiation for about a decade, 9 years to be precise. The treaty has 12 articles and 8 annexures. Now, what does this mean? The Indus Water Treaty talks about river water sharing between India and Pakistan, and predominantly the 5 rivers of Punjab, Satluj, Ravi, Beas, Chenab, Jhelum, and of course the Indus River. So India is to use the eastern rivers, Pakistan to use the western rivers. So what are the eastern rivers that are allocated to India, or the waters of the eastern river? Ravi, Beas, and Satluj. So of the Punjab, Punjab, Panch, Pani, Nadiyon ka Pani. So Satluj, Ravi, Beas, Chenab, Jhelum. So Ravi, Beas, and Satluj. India is to use water of these eastern rivers. Pakistan was allocated water of the western rivers, 80% by Pakistan, 20% by India, and that is Chenab, Jhelum, and Indus. When the Indus Water Treaty stands suspended or in abeyance, what will be the impact on Pakistan? Now, when you say that it's in abeyance, it doesn't mean India will stop water right away, because if India has to stop water, where will that water go? A lot of infrastructure needs to be developed, but that's a signal of intent that India is sending out to Pakistan. India, of course, has run-of-the-river dams. Pakistan has also objected to that in the past, but it's lost the cases. Run-of-the-river dams means that you can generate electricity out of that water, but you cannot stop that water or divert that water. Impact on Pakistan. Should India even utilize the 20% that's authorized to India and officially allocated to India, even 20% which is done, we don't even do that. Pakistan gets much more. And yet Pakistan is water starved, because Pakistan doesn't believe in water management, or at least doesn't do it effectively. But in case India were to use the entire 20%, Pakistan would be in grave trouble. It threatens food security in Pakistan. It creates a severe water crisis in Pakistan. There already is one. Allows India to use water better, whether it's to generate electricity, divert that water, utilize it better in Punjab where it is required. And in Pakistan, a lot of their agricultural land, and this is Punjab, Pakistani part of Punjab's worst nightmare, a lot of their agricultural land could turn barren and create a massive environmental impact for Pakistan. And that's just one step. India is saying if we were to hold or relook or seek to renegotiate the Indus Water Treaty, Pakistan would be in grave danger. Pakistan now has to decide they prefer terror or they want the water. Mir Farid joins me live from Pahalgam, ground zero of the terror attack that took place. Shashank Mattu is with me from the national capital, was at that press conference. Mir, to you first. The situation on ground right now. Counter-terror measures, we are told, are being taken, but Kashmir, is it already, unfortunately, feeling the brunt? We are told there are large-scale cancellations of reservations, tourists leaving, and this would, Pakistan's actions would really adversely impact people in Kashmir.
Yes, in fact, Gaurav, since morning we're seeing cancellations, and in fact, from yesterday the exodus started. As soon as the news spread, those gory visuals went viral. People came to know about it, and one would fault them. There were families here, and they decided that the best possible measure right now was to go to safer zones. Some went to security force camps, some straight to Srinagar. There are still some who are here, but obviously they are waiting for the road to open, Srinagar-Jammu National Highway. So already the attack having a ripple effect, a damaging effect on Kashmir tourism as was expected. But as far as the countermeasures are concerned, they are still ongoing. We've been told that forest area is being scanned, and as we've been saying since yesterday, this is a multi-force, in fact, synergy, and they're going about it in a calculated manner. They're going from different directions, but overall, if you look at the counter-terror measures, you had an encounter in Kulgam where it's still going on. An infiltration bid negated in Uri, 2 infiltrators shot, dead, ammunition recovered. Multiple operations are going on. So quite clearly after Home Minister's visit, he has given a free hand, and it's not just about Pahalgam, but Pan Valley. They have been told to improve security situation and finish the threat and ensure that there is no threat, especially
and perhaps
from the
stop working
TRF,
in
which right
silos,
now is
have better
enemy number 1.
coordination between intelligence agencies, between security forces, not look for laurels, but for terrorists and neutralize those terrorists. That is so desperately required so that we can save lives of our people killed by these radical Islamist terrorists. Shashank, you were there at that press conference. You heard the foreign secretary. In the government, what's the thinking? Are these the measures that we're taking, or is this just a crucial first step, Shashank?
I think at this point in time, Gaurav, the government of India, when we spoke to them, were very clear that the Indus Waters Treaty is really the star of the show when it comes to these 5 measures that India has ordered, because Pakistan will understand how important this is. 80% of Pakistan's water comes from the Indus Water Basin. 90% of its agricultural output is sustained by the Indus Water Treaty. India is sending a very key message here. The treaty, as you rightly mentioned, was negotiated in 1960. It stood the test of time for 65 years until India decided to put it into abeyance. It's sending a very clear message to Pakistan that this is not business as usual. The ball is in your court. If you continue to follow these policies, we are ready to take steps that would have been considered unprecedented even just a couple of years ago. You are not dealing with the same India. On the other steps that you're seeing, whether it's the cancellation of visas, the reduction in the diplomatic personnel, whether you're also talking about the closing of the Atari-Wagah border, India is sending a very is sending a message that, look, we just do not want to have the level of contacts, whether at the elite level or the popular level, that we once did with Pakistan. We do not want anything to do with you. That is a clear message that is being sent. So we can, number one, also, Gaurav, I also have to point out, when we were speaking to the government, they were very clear that we use this one word, abeyance. The treaty has been placed into abeyance because it could be revived. India is also very clearly saying that the treaty could be revived at some point in time if Pakistan reconsiders its policy on terrorism. So that is
that big message. Is India sending out that big message? Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, former top diplomat, joins me on the show, was a consul general in Karachi in Pakistan, knows the Pakistani mind well. Colonel Dinny joins me on the broadcast, somebody who's served on ground at the line of control and at the line of actual control. But Ambassador Dogra, your appreciation of, let's take this step by step, the Indus Water Treaty being held in abeyance. Now, is this a symbolic step? Is this a signal of intent? Does this satisfy people more domestically, or does it send out a clear message to Pakistan?
I'm glad you started with the Indus Waters Treaty. In fact, my book, Where Borders Bleed, which was published 10 years back, had 2 chapters. One was on Article 370, where I strongly advocated that it be abolished. Second was on Indus Waters Treaty, where I wrote chapter and verse on how it was the most generous water treaty in the world and how it should be revoked. I'm glad the government has taken the first step in keeping it in abeyance as a warning to Pakistan, behave. But there's a background to Indus Waters Treaty.
Yes.
First, at the time in 1960 when it was signed, America was signing a treaty with Mexico where it was hardly giving a pittance of water to Mexico. But America was making sure that India gave the most generous water treaty to Pakistan, as its ambassador in Islamabad of that time wrote back to State Department that India is in big financial trouble. This is the time to teach Pandit Nehru rules of international behavior. So it was to punish India that Washington, through World Bank, made India sign that treaty. But now the wheel has turned full circle. Let me also recall what Jinnah said about sharing waters from India. This was before the partition. Both Jinnah and Nehru were there, and the British asked them as to what is your opinion. Nehru, of course, was generous, but Jinnah said, rather than take Hindu water, I would let Pakistan become a desert. So we have come to a point where if terrorism continues, I think not just keeping it in abeyance, we should revoke the Indus Waters Treaty, because nothing in the world obliges us to continue with this as long as terrorism continues. issues.
You know,
So,
that's such a pertinent point you make. And, you know, I want to come back to you for more on Jinnah's point, but I also want to bring in Colonel Dinny on the Pakistani mindset, which many in our country, unfortunately, fail to fathom, fail to understand. Colonel Dinny, look at Jinnah's mindset. Muhammad Ali Jinnah lived in Bombay, enjoyed the best of India, wanted to be Prime Minister, carved out a separate country. That same hatred for Hindus from 1947, Jinnah's mind, I would rather let Pakistan become a desert than take Hindu water. This was Jinnah's mindset. And 2025, here that Mullah Asim Munir, who masquerades as the Pakistan Army chief, you know, 50 shades of Hafiz Saeed. I mean, that's the only way you can describe these Pakistanis from perhaps Jinnah to Asim Munir, Colonel Dinny. It's that same mindset. Services understand so much better being you know, facing the brunt of it at the line of control for decades.
Oh, absolutely, Gaurav. There is no doubt that that mindset has not changed. That's what clearly was brought to the fore by General Asif Munir as recent as last 1 week before. So that is exactly the problem. Also, no, these people think that they can do anything with India and they can get away with it. That's the kind of mindset which they had right from 1947. However hard you hit them, they just don't seem to learn any lesson. And this particular this particular step of at least suspending or keeping it in abeyance in the water treaty, I think it's a huge step, precisely because I think this will definitely bring about the behavioral change what we keep on saying. Why I say so is it affects the common man in Pakistan. We already know that the Pakistan army stature in Pakistan is absolutely down today. But the person who walks on the streets of Pakistan, he does not even wear the uniform, because that is the kind of the kind of disrespect the common man has for Pakistan army. Now, when this Indus Water Treaty gets, the suspension will create problems for the common man. He will ask, why am I suffering this? For whom am I suffering this? If Pakistan army has to be relevant, it should not be at our cost. It should not be at our cost. So then, then Pakistan army will, what we saw, what happened at the corps commander's residence. That is what is going to happen in the future, because these people will get behind Pakistan army and teach them a lesson. And what we saw in the corps commander's house, what we didn't have to do anything. This will be done by the people of Pakistan to Pakistan army.
But that's a pertinent point that you make. But will that actually happen, or is that, a pipe dream? Because Imran Khan is already in jail. I'll come to Imran Khan's point in just a moment, because in Pakistan, they say either Imran Khan will survive or Asim Munir will survive. And when he creates hatred towards India, then Asim Munir goes up that survival ladder more than Imran Khan, because then it becomes the question of Pakistan's survival. And Asim Munir, once again, instead of being the terrorist that he is, will be seen as the savior of Pakistanis. But I want to understand this from you, Ambassador Dogra, before I bring in Shashank and Mir into this conversation once again. I want to understand from you, Ambassador Dogra, what will be the impact on the Pakistani mind? Will there be an impact on ground just as yet, or will India have to create infrastructure for any impact on ground? Point one, and point two, on the mind of the Pakistani farmers or Pakistan, Punjab and in Karachi, what will be the impact?
Well, the impact will start once the water stops flowing. Till then, the villagers in Pakistan is not affected. What the villagers and citizens of Sindh are most disturbed by are the news reports and actually action on ground by Pakistani Punjab government to build 5 further canals diverting Indus waters. So there's a big agitation going on. And in fact, Bhutto Jr. has threatened to walk out of the coalition if it continues. But there is big trouble in Pakistan about water sharing. So I don't think we have to continue to be generous at our expense. Let me give you another point in this Indus Waters thing. We were so naive when this treaty was being signed that the chief negotiator from our side, Gulati, in fact, again, I mentioned it in their borders fleet, he said, I made a huge blunder. I did not think that our population would increase or industries would come up in Punjab and Jammu, and we would need more waters. So there was no provision for more waters. Can you think of another instance where we were so blind of our own needs? But let me make one more point, and that is the emphasis only on the diplomatic side of CCS meeting. In
Yes.
fact, there's a huge diplomatic, the strategic message. If you read out Foreign Secretary's statement at the press meeting a couple of minutes back, in the end, he has a very, very strong message to Pakistan.
Yes.
That we will hit not just the perpetrators of terror, but also their masters, their sponsors. So I think that is the strategic message which people are missing and which people should keep their ears tuned to. The second strategic
Or
message,
probably no, Ambassador. We were actually hoping to see that when we do, and we are very patient people because we've seen after Uri in 2016, after the attack at the Uri military base, it took the Indian Army 10 days to respond, but within 10 days the surgical strike had been carried out. After Pulwama terror attack, it took the army 12 days in 2019. The Air Force 12 days to carry out the Balakot airstrikes. So we saw that subtext. And we're waiting whether it takes a week, 10 days, a fortnight or longer for India to respond, because that is an action that we want to see on ground and not just hear words. But I also want to bring in Geeta Mohan, our Foreign Affairs editor, into this conversation. And Geeta, you're plugged into what's happening across the border. What's the impact? What's the buzz in the Pakistani media? What are you picking up on the Indus Water Treaty and on actions that Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri just announced?
Well, the Pakistani media, Gaurav, has now reports coming in saying, citing sources, that there is going to be reciprocity. Not understanding the fact that India unilaterally did announce reciprocity. They
Yes.
not only said that there's going to be downsizing of the Pakistan High Commission here, that they are going to downsize the Indian High Commission in Islamabad by withdrawing key critical officials and staff from the High Commission. Now, one thing, Pakistan can always say that, well, that doesn't really make a difference because there weren't any official conversations that were happening between the two sides. There is another thing that they can say about the Indus Waters Treaty, which has not been completely scrapped or annulled. Has been kept in abeyance. But the fact that negotiations will not happen, this is just a step towards what could very well be India's ultimate goal, should Pakistan continue with its adventurism. But they can just say that. The fact of the matter is that these are important diplomatic decisions that have been taken. The international community is watching and taking note of it. There could be ramifications and maybe some decisions by various countries and how they would want to look at Pakistan. A dossier will be prepared, Gaurav, like India did all through 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, Pulwama, Uri, and the international community will get a piece of the document to understand the gravity of the situation.
Frankly, I don't have much faith in dossiers and Pakistan taking action on dossiers, considering the number of dossiers India has submitted after the Parliament attack, after Uri attack, after Pulwama, including getting ISI to Pathankot.
No. The dossier is not to Pakistan. Sharing with the international community to understand.
So you get international sympathy.
Pakistan is doing.
We're too strong to need international sympathy. Why would we need international sympathy? I want to understand that.
It's not sympathy. It is not sympathy. It is action. There could be action in responses from countries, from unexpected quarters for Pakistan. There is no love lost now between the West and Pakistan in how Pakistan has been duping them, not just with money, the aid that goes in, but if it is being funneled to promote terrorism, then I think there is going to be a shift. India is not the same as it was. There is going to be a change. There is going to be a shift. But there are two strategies here. One is diplomatic. Vikram Misri ended by talking about the second one, which is that the perpetrators or the ones behind it will have to pay. expect a
Yes.
military strategy too. There is going to be a military response. The Indian
Okay.
administration over here is not going to just stick to one. The other will be employed. How, when, will be of the government of India's choosing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And considering we've seen the surgical strikes, we've seen the airstrikes, Colonel Dini, Pakistan may have denied any impact of the airstrikes, and Pakistan may have claimed that only crows were killed and trees were damaged. It was Pakistan's izzat and it was Pakistan's iqbal. They neither have izzat nor iqbal if 12 Indian fighter jets can cross the LC, bomb across the international border, all of them can come back and Pakistan can do little about it. So neither izzat nor iqbal for Fizaya that Pakistan Air Force claims to be, Colonel Dini.
Absolutely, Gaurav. It is not you or me who said that the Pakistan army chief was literally shivering. And when this Balakot airstrike was carried out, it was said on the floor of the Pakistan Parliament by a member of the Parliament of Pakistan that this is what happened, and Khuda ke waste Abhinandan ko chhod do was what they said. So they know it, we know it, what was done. So, and I'm very sure that the powers to be there, they know that India will strike. There's no doubt, as Ambassador Dogra also was mentioning earlier, that this is going to be this is not just one dimensional response by India. It is going to be the whole of nation approach. That's what is happening. It is just not the military approach or a diplomatic approach or an economic approach. It's everything together, bringing the might of India, so that this kind of action can never happen again. This is not just an ordinary militant strike on India, Gaurav. It is much more than that. They had nefarious designs to create communal division within India, and to top it all, what General Asif Munir mentioned a week ago, it's a clear sign, a clear indication that the designs are much more bigger than what comes to us. It is much more bigger than that.
And before I bring in Geeta into this conversation, there's another personal barb or jibe that these terrorists had towards our Prime Minister, Ambassador Dogra, when the women said, "Hame bhi maar do, you've killed our husband, kill us too." They said, "No, we want you to watch this and we want you to go and tell Modi, go tell your Prime Minister." So, some two-bit radical Islamist terrorist is saying that about our Prime Minister. Clearly, it's a mindset. It's a Jinnah mindset that comes to Asim Munir, percolates down to these terrorists. Jao apne Modi ko bol do, which means they will see him as someone who's a big hindrance in their Ghazwa-e-Hind that they want to wage against India for such a long time, Ambassador Dogra. So somewhere down the line, India's actions will have to be much more than the actions announced today.
Well, absolutely. And what worries me immensely is the difference between the previous Pakistani army chief, Bajwa. And I'll give you two specific instances. One, which Colonel has just very rightly mentioned, that his legs were shivering when the Balakot was going on and our pilot had to be released. He understood the implications of escalation beyond a point. But this particular General Munir, is a fundamentalist, and he's a terrorist in military uniform. So I think we have to be very careful as to what kind of a reaction, what kind of irresponsible actions this general is capable of carrying out. So as far as the concrete actions are concerned, I think, as you very rightly mentioned, we have to wait for a few days, maybe even weeks, just as Israel had done, just as we had done earlier in two cases. We will hit them when it suits us and when we think time is right. But surely we are going to send out a message. And let me add one more thing. There was another very important message that Foreign Secretary has conveyed in a statement, that the military personnel of Pakistan High Commission in India need to be repatriated. We'll, of course, withdraw our personnel. And the reason is all these three wings were staffed by ISI personnel. So we do not want ISI personnel snooping around any longer when we are thinking of some action or the other against these Pakistanis who sponsor terror attacks against India.
Oh, absolutely. Geeta, the other steps, and let's quickly go over some of the other steps that India has announced. So, for example, this integrated checkpost at Atari to be closed with immediate effect. Those who've crossed over with valid visas and endorsements have to return on or before the 1st of May 2025. And then Pakistani nationals will now no longer be permitted to come to India under that SARC visa exemption scheme, or SVES. What impact will this have, perhaps except beyond people-to-people ties?
Not just people-to-people ties, medical attention. A lot of Pakistanis, because of lack of infrastructure and facilities in Pakistan, actually look to India and come to India for treatment. That is not going to happen. The impact, Gaurav, is going to be on people, but then somebody has to stand up in Pakistan and stop the Pakistani military or the establishment from doing what it's doing. The keeping Kashmir at the center and the front of their policies has not helped Pakistan. Look, let me just take you back a little. We've seen tourist attack in 2025. We'd not seen tourists being attacked in the recent past. But remember 1995, 6 foreign tourists were kidnapped by Harkatul Ansar, that's Jaish-e-Mohammed today. One beheaded. The others' bodies weren't found. Only one escaped. And Kashmir continued to be resilient. India continued to be resilient. Got up. They could not break Kashmir. They will still not manage to break Kashmir. My only humble submission over here is that right now Kashmir is not safe, Gaurav. But the day the Indian administration and security agencies say it is safe to go to Kashmir, don't abandon it. Don't stop going to Kashmir, because then you're abandoning Kashmiris and Kashmir itself. Tourism is the life and soul.
Very pertinent point to make there.